For most of my adult life, whenever somebody asked me what I did, I always had an answer. I was a project manager, a program manager, a delivery lead. Whatever the title was at the time, there was always something I could put after the words, I am a blank. And I don't think I realized how comforting that was until one day I suddenly didn't have it anymore. Earlier this year, I lost my job. And at first, I thought the biggest problem was going to be the obvious one: money, finding another job, updating my CV, going through interviews again, figuring out what came next. But weirdly, that wasn't actually the hardest part. The hardest part was waking up one morning and realizing I had absolutely no idea who I was when I wasn't working. I've been working for more than a decade now, and somewhere along the way, without really noticing it, career progression became one of the main ways I measured whether my life was going well. New job? Good. Higher salary? Also good. Bigger responsibility? Definitely good. Better title? Absolutely good. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with wanting those things. I still care about my career. I still want to do meaningful work. I still want financial stability, that's for sure. But looking back, I think I had started confusing career progress with personal progress. If my career was moving forward, then I was moving forward. If work was going badly, somehow I was doing badly. And when you live like that for long enough, your job stops being just something you do. It starts becoming evidence that you're doing okay. So when I lost mine, the immediate feeling wasn't just, oh no, I need another job. There was another question underneath it, a much scarier one. If I'm not this anymore, then what exactly am I? The first few weeks were strange because suddenly there was so much time, and I know that sounds like the dream when you're overworked. Whenever you're busy, you think, oh, if I just had a few weeks off, imagine everything I would do. I would exercise every day, read 12 books, fix my sleep schedule, learn a language, become a completely different person. Apparently, that is not what happens, I'm telling you. At least that's not what happened to me. There were days when I was productive. There were also days where I would open LinkedIn, check job listings, then close it, and then 20 minutes later, open it again, as if 12 new perfect job opportunities might have materialized in the meantime. And there was this guilt whenever I wasn't doing something related to finding work. If I watched something in the afternoon, I felt guilty. If I went somewhere, I felt guilty. If I spent money, guilty. If I wasn't studying some new professional skill, guilty. There was always this little voice saying, you don't have a job right now. You should be fixing that. And obviously, yes, I needed to look for work. But there are only so many applications you can send in one day. You can't spend 12 hours every single day optimizing your CV. Eventually, there's just time and silence and yourself, which, as it turns out, can be quite uncomfortable. But something interesting happened inside that uncomfortable space. I started doing things. Not particularly impressive things, for that matter. Not things that would look good on LinkedIn, for sure. Just things I wanted to do. For once, I started writing more. I've always written fiction, but suddenly I had more mental space for it. I worked on my books. I thought about stories, characters, things I wanted to say that had absolutely nothing to do with KPIs, project timelines, or, God forbid, stakeholder management. I started making a YouTube music channel, which is such a random sentence when I say it out loud, now that I think about it, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed thinking about the visual identity. I enjoy thinking about what kind of music belongs in what kind of setting, what thumbnail works, what story each video tells. And besides that, I started cooking more seriously. Yeah, cooking. And then somehow cooking turned into, wait, could I actually sell this? So I started making bakmi, testing recipes, thinking about portions, packaging, pricing, and whoa, gosh, brand names. At one point, I was spending an unreasonable amount of time thinking about what my noodle business should be called. And none of these things were part of some brilliant entrepreneurial master plan. That's important. I wasn't sitting there going, oh, I have lost my job, therefore I shall now construct 7 alternative revenue streams. It was much messier than that. I was just curious. And for the first time in a long time, curiosity was enough justification to do something. And I think this was when something started shifting. Because I remembered that before I became obsessed with building a career, I had interests, lots of them. I've always been somebody who likes too many things. I mean, I write, I cook, I journal, I love stationery, I like music, I like making things, I like thinking about stories and brands and food and books and weird little creative projects that probably won't make me rich. And over time, a lot of those things had slowly been pushed to the edges of my life. Not because anyone forced me to. Work simply became the biggest thing. You work all day. You come home tired. You have dinner, maybe you watch something, you sleep, and then you do it again. Your hobbies become things you'll get back to eventually. Your creative projects become folders on your computer, and suddenly 5 years have passed. Losing my job gave me something I absolutely did not ask for. Space. And I don't want to romanticize job loss. It sucks. Financial insecurity is stressful. Rejection is stressful. Watching other people announce promotions and new jobs while you're trying to figure out your own life can do very strange things to your brain. I would not recommend unemployment as a wellness retreat. Duh. But if I have to go through this experience anyway, I also want to acknowledge what it gave me. It forced me to meet parts of myself that I had neglected. And interestingly, rediscovering those parts of myself also changed how I thought about work. At the beginning, my goal was basically find another job, preferably as quickly as possible. Preferably something that looked like progress from the outside. Same trajectory, same ladder. Keep climbing. But after sitting with myself for a while, I started asking a different question. Not what job can I get, but what kind of working life do I actually want? And those are very different questions. I realized there are things about my previous work that I genuinely love. I like helping teams work better together. I like creating clarity when everything is messy. I like being the person who connects people. I like helping a group move towards something together. I like seeing something that was once just an idea actually get delivered. But I also realized that not every project management job gives you those things. Sometimes the same title can describe completely different jobs. And for a long time, I thought being adaptable meant I should be able to thrive anywhere. Now I don't think that's true anymore. I think part of knowing yourself is understanding the conditions in which you can do your best work, the kind of people you want around you, the problems you actually enjoy solving, the values you're not willing to trade away just because something looks good on paper. So I'm still figuring out where my career goes from here, but I'm asking better questions now. And I think that matters. There was another uncomfortable lesson in all of this. I had to confront how deeply productivity was tied to my sense of self-worth. I think a lot of us say things like, your job doesn't define you, and theoretically I agreed with that. Of course your job doesn't define you. Very enlightened, very healthy. Good observation. Then I lost mine and immediately discovered that apparently I had not internalized that lesson whatsoever. Because when I wasn't producing something that society recognized as productive, I felt like I was wasting time. Writing a project plan, productive. Writing a novel, managing a team, productive. Spending an afternoon experimenting with a noodle recipe, questionable. Earning a salary, productive. Learning something new purely out of interest or curiosity, yeah, you're a dropout. Apparently, my brain needed a business case, and I've been trying to unlearn all of that. Not everything I do needs to become income. Not every hobby needs to become a side hustle. Not every interest needs to contribute to my professional brand. Some things can exist because they make being alive more interesting. Which sounds incredibly obvious, but somehow I needed to lose my job to remember it. I also want to say this because I think stories about finding yourself can become very neat in retrospect. Something bad happens, person goes away, person discovers passion, person returns transformed, beautiful soundtrack, and credits. My experience has not been like that. There was no morning where I woke up and suddenly understood my purpose. I still get anxious. I still worry about money. Who doesn't? I still compare myself to other people sometimes. I still have days where I look at everything I'm doing and I think, what exactly is the plan here? And the answer is often, I don't know. But maybe rediscovering yourself isn't about discovering one definitive answer. Maybe it's collecting evidence. I enjoyed doing this. I hated doing that. This kind of environment makes me feel alive. That one makes me shut down. These are the people I want around me. This is what I care about. This is what I don't care about anymore. You gather these little pieces and eventually the picture becomes clearer. So, several months into this experience, I don't think I've reinvented myself. Actually, I don't really want to because reinventing implies that the old version of me needs to be replaced, and I don't think he does. The ambitious version of me who built a career, he's still there, somewhere. The project manager, still here. The person who wants financial stability and professional success, very much still here. But now he's sitting at a much bigger table. At that table, there's also the writer, the guy obsessing over his bakmi recipe, the person making oddly specific playlists for imaginary rainy afternoons in Tokyo, the person who likes notebooks and stories and pens and cooking and making things just because he can. None of these identities need to defeat the others. Maybe that's actually what I've been rediscovering. I don't have to choose one thing and turn it into my entire personality. And if you're watching this because you have just recently lost your job, I don't know what happens next for you. And I definitely don't have a 5-step framework for turning unemployment into your best life ever. I think that would be incredibly dishonest, but maybe there's one question worth asking while you're figuring things out. Outside of your job, what parts of yourself have you been postponing? What did you used to love doing? What are you curious about? What have you been saying you'll do when you have the time? Because sometimes life creates that time in ways we absolutely did not want. And maybe the answer isn't to immediately fill every available hour with another form of productivity. Maybe some of that space can be used to remember yourself. I'm still looking for what comes next. I'm still building, still experimenting, still figuring things out. And strangely, I think I'm more hopeful now, more than I was ever when I had a much clearer plan. Because the goal isn't just to get back to where I was. I want to build a life that actually feels like mine. And for now, I think that's enough. If you've ever gone through a period where your life suddenly changed, I don't know, job loss, burnout, moving somewhere new, or anything that made you question who you were, I would genuinely love to hear what you discovered about yourself. Tell me in the comments. And if you're also somewhere in the middle of figuring things out, I guess we're figuring it out together. Thanks for watching.